I don't think Tennessee got the easiest draw in terms of schedule. I think that's Texas. I don't think they got the toughest draw in terms of schedule. That's debatable. But I think they got the top half in terms of schedule and maybe even a little bit higher than that. Let's talk some Tennessee football schedule, brought to you by our good friends at City Heating and Air Conditioning. 50 years in East Tennessee, integrity matters. Don't trust a fly-by-night HVAC company. Says you may need a new unit that could cost thousands or more. Integrity matters. City Heating and Air. cityheatandair.com. So, Caleb, in general, if you were to give this a schedule a grade in difficulty, A+ being, my goodness, that is the toughest schedule I have ever seen. F being what Vanderbilt plays. Where would you have this schedule in terms of difficulty?
Relative to Tennessee football history, this is a C+. Which
is good, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I'd rather you say D- because if you win 10 games in the SEC, you're going to make the playoff. So I argue the other 4 opponents should be incredibly easy, and we'll get to them. But to me, you saying C+ is good news. I'd make it even easier.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's one of the easier schedules in Tennessee football history. It's one of the easier schedules in Tennessee football history. It is not.
Would be middle of the pack, right?
That you're right. That's probably true. I did say relative to Tennessee football, didn't I? So you're right. D. I'll go D. Okay, because
good.
Tennessee
Good.
thinking like this is not. Again, you can criticize them all you want, but I think Derek Dooley played the toughest schedule in history in 2011 with Tennessee when they had to play the top 3 teams from the West: Alabama, LSU, and Arkansas, who finished 1, 2, and 3, and that was their 3 West opponents from the SEC that year. So I think that things have gotten a lot more favorable for Tennessee over the years.
Okay. Now we're having a little issue with our poll question on our YouTube page. So I would like for you to just type in what opponent you think that is, let's say, the X factor as far as could turn Tennessee's season from a contender to a championship, because we're on board that Tennessee is a contender and will make the college football playoff. We haven't given our complete predictions, but we're there on that and feel very strongly about that. I don't know anybody else that has gone quite that far, so hang your hat on that. And we've been right a lot lately, so we're pleased with that. So let's start with the obvious one, which is Kent State. Well, I thought the obvious one was going to be Chattanooga, but you say Kent State is worse than Chattanooga, which will be the opener.
Yes. Kent State is worse than Chattanooga. Guys, sometimes those lower level FBS schools are worse than the really good FCS schools. And Kent State went 1-11 last year with the new head coach, Kenny Burns. And Kenny Burns is the worst coach in college football. And I got to just play a quick clip for you to wait, can I play a clip for you to show why?
Yes, as long as you promise not to include him on the social media pushes.
Okay, fine. I won't include him on the social media pushes.
Actually include him. Go ahead and play it.
This is funny. It's one of the worst things, the biggest red flag a coach has ever said. Here we go.
People are going to tell you that you cannot be a head coach without being a coordinator, without being someone who's had play calling experiences, and I get it, I do. But to me, that wasn't my desire. I never had the desire to call plays. I never had the desire to sit up top and look down and make the adjustments from that standpoint.
I never had the desire to make adjustments or scheme. I think
plays
or call plays.
Does it? I would think every coach would want to call plays. Nobody. I mean, can you imagine if you and I, not to oversimplify this, we're playing NCAA football, and I say, Caleb, let's play. And you go, okay, I'm going to beat you. And I said, no, I got a new way to play. I'm going to call the play and then hand you the controller. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I bet Glenn Ellerby wants to call plays. I bet Rodney Garner wouldn't mind calling plays if they said, give it a shot. I mean, that's like not wanting to have a million viewers. That's like, oh my gosh. Okay, now don't attach him. Don't attach him. All right. So
that's why they're below Chattanooga, by the way.
Okay, some insight into Chattanooga. Some of you know, I spent some time there. I got a lot of respect for Rusty Wright. You point out he's 30-2. He coaches a physical style of ball, whereas some people would go to Chattanooga and maybe do something creative offensively to try to manufacture wins. Caleb, he coaches a physical team. Now, I don't think that'll matter because of the talent gap, but that's the type of team you'll see. You got UTEP at number 10.
Yes, and it was close between Chattanooga and UTEP, believe it or not, because again, I'm with you. Rusty Wright, guys, go look at how he's built up that program. Last year was their best year, 8-5, and they are now number 9 in the preseason FCS poll. So don't forget what happened with Tennessee and Austin Peay last year that made everybody red flags. Watch out for Chattanooga.
They'll believe they can play with Tennessee, but they can't. No,
they can't. UTEP has a new head coach, and they are coming off a 3-9 season themselves. Their new head coach is Scotty Walden. That it's a late game. It's the final game. It's senior day. That's the senior day game for Tennessee. I don't think they're going to slip up on that one. I mean, they're going to just absolutely wreck UTEP. So that UTEP can't compete with them at all either.
All right. So where do we go next?
Now the fun begins. Well, okay, the fun semi begins. There's also just another really, really easy, laughably sleepable game.
I thought the Kent State coach was pretty fun.
Kent State was fun. Coach was fun. That's the best one. By the way, just for people who want to know, he was a running backs coach before he became a head coach. And that's the number one position you don't hire directly to a head coach. Like if you want to promote a quarterbacks coach to head coach, maybe, right, Dave? But you don't promote a running backs coach to head coach.
It's the reason Trooper Taylor wanted to coach receivers so he could learn the entire offense. So you're right. There is a stigma with just being the running back coach. And oftentimes stigma is that you're just a recruiter. And oftentimes the stigma, not so much now, but previously in my career, has dealt with racial stereotypes. But that's a whole different topic. Who's next on Tennessee?
Well, he didn't help that when he said, I never wanted to call play.
Oh, no. So, no. Well, I don't want to get sidetracked on the racial stereotype thing, but it is out there. All right, so who's next?
Vanderbilt's 9th. That's the easiest SEC game. Tennessee is going to face Clark Lee's team in Nashville. So, that's going to be a really tough, hostile environment for Tennessee, Dave.
Difficult. Neyland West. All right, who's next?
Number 8, the other easier game for Tennessee, who they never lose to, is Kentucky. Theoretically, Kentucky should be higher on the list. There are tougher teams. There are teams on this list that Kentucky is tougher than. But Tennessee never loses to Kentucky. They get Kentucky at home, and here's the big one, Dave. They get Kentucky off a bye. Heupel doesn't lose off a bye.
Yeah, and I just don't think Kentucky's going to have the team speed anytime soon to compete with Tennessee and their roster. Arkansas, I would say the exact same thing about.
Yes, the only difference between Arkansas and Kentucky is actually better than Arkansas, but Arkansas is on the road. And Arkansas is not Kentucky, who Tennessee just automatically beats. But I think Tennessee will still beat Arkansas. Again, they have Arkansas off a bye. And Sam Pittman's going to be reeling. And by the way, last year, Tennessee beat Bobby Petrino off a bye. And they get to face Bobby Petrino off a bye this year.
Well, and I don't think his offense is all that difficult to stop. You talk about coach as the game is passing by. He would be one of those. I'm trying to remember which game is that exactly?
That's game like 5, I think. I think that's 5 or 6.
You'll wonder what it's like in Fayetteville with the coaching situation. Is it starting to go south? I mean, there could be issues there that certainly would not surprise me. Let's continue with the list, as so far we have run down Kent State, Chattanooga, UTEP, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas. You've got Florida at number 6. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you must have picked Florida because of the history of the series. Because I'm going to go ahead and say that based off roster, the Vols have a greater chance to lose to Kentucky and Arkansas than the University of Florida.
No, I disagree. And here's why. It's not just the history. The history does have a factor. It's the bye factor. Josh Heupel's coming off a bye to face Arkansas and Kentucky. And Josh Heupel is amazing off a bye.
Okay.
So that's why I put Florida at 6.
But who do they play before they play Florida?
I actually think they play Arkansas before they play Florida, funny enough. I'm pulling up the schedule now to make sure I get my dates right, which I pulled up yesterday. Yeah, so they play Arkansas the week before Florida. So Florida will be should be the easier team, but because Arkansas is on the road, but coming off a bye and the history of the series makes Florida tougher than Kentucky or Arkansas.
Okay. Based off roster, I'm going to say right now that Tennessee will be a bigger favorite over. They'll be a bigger favorite over Florida than Arkansas and Kentucky.
Well, maybe
because I think the wheels are going to come off at Florida.
Well, they're going to come off early. I think Florida could easily be 1-4 going into this game. Florida
Right.
plays Miami, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State.
I mean, I think they're playing the decade of dysfunction Florida Gators.
They really are.
So to me, but anyway, we'll debate that one.
They're the New York Mets South.
And you would have Mississippi State too. You're higher on their coaching staff than me. That would be another one that I would say Tennessee will be favored more against Florida than Mississippi State.
Well, that's why I have Mississippi State ahead of Florida. That's tougher than Florida.
Oh, well, that makes sense then. Sorry.
Yeah, I have them tougher than Arkansas and Kentucky.
Right.
Mississippi State is the ultimate trap game of trap games, guys. They are going to be the surprise team of the year. They're not going to go, when I say surprise, and you know what I mean, Dave, they're not going to go like 10-2 or 11-1. But a team that everybody thinks is going to be 3-9 is going to be in a bowl game at the end of the year. And is going to make a push against some elite teams. You know what I'm talking about? That type of team.
Yes.
Mississippi.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Mississippi State has the new hot young offensive coach in the SEC and Jeff Levy. Almost said Billy Napier and Jeff Levy. He was Josh Heupel's offensive coordinator, and he was Lane Kiffin's offensive coordinator, and he's developed in the Art Briles, Kendall Briles system. The dude is an offensive juggernaut and has been waiting for a head coaching job. And more importantly, Dave, and here's the big one. Tennessee plays them a week before they go to Georgia. And it's homecoming weekend when they play them. You don't think there's going to be distractions everywhere when they're facing Mississippi State that week?
No, because I think Tennessee will be undefeated at that point because that's before the Georgia game. So I think they're undefeated and riding high, and I don't think you overlook people when they're greater
Here's
things.
Another quick history lesson. I don't know why they made Mississippi State homecoming. That homecoming game is on November the 9th. The last time Tennessee played a homecoming game on November the 9th was 2002 when they named Miami their homecoming game and they lost 26-3.
It's the worst bludgeoning that I've ever covered. Seriously, that could have been 500 to 0. I have never covered a game where it's just like that team is so much better. They're going to beat them 26 to whatever they decide.
Remember when Cedric Houston had a clear path for a touchdown on the first play of the game? And then, like, who was it? Was it, I forget the safety that just called him from like 30 yards behind, caught up with him? Was that? I thought Ed Reed had already gone pro.
Yeah, I think he had. They had another great one. Oklahoma, number 4. We can get help on the message board of that one. You like Oklahoma to be Tennessee's 4th toughest opponent? That does not surprise me because it's on the road. What surprises me is you've got NC State number 3. Explain yourself, sir, because nobody would agree with you here.
Are you asking about NC State versus Oklahoma or NC State versus anybody else I named?
NC State versus Oklahoma.
NC State is week 2. Think Pitt 2 years ago. Tennessee's got a very good young team, but it's going to take a couple of games to develop a little bit of chemistry and a little bit of a flow.
And to back Caleb, Cooper and Jacob both said the Pitt game was huge in what happened in 2022. That had they not pulled that out, could have been a whole different feel on that team. That was a monster game. Maybe bigger than the Alabama game because the Alabama game doesn't happen if the Pitt game doesn't happen.
That's 1,000% true. The Alabama game happened because Tennessee was riding a wave of momentum that started with the Pitt game. That's what this NC State game is. It's going to be rough. They're going to have to fight. They're going to struggle. And NC State has a very solid program under Dave Doeren. They're number 22 to start the year. This is a neutral site game, but it is in North Carolina. And I think while Tennessee is better, it will be think about it this way, Dave. Those teams that you know you're better than, but it's September and it's a messy game because the other team is pretty good. Syracuse, 98. Tennessee was significantly better than Syracuse, but that was a messy game. That's what this is because you're trying to come together. I think Tennessee pulls it out, but it's a messy game. The reason Oklahoma is on the list is that's 2 weeks later. Man, guys, if Tennessee beats NC State and then they're obviously going to beat Chattanooga and Kent State, They'll be 3-0, riding high with confidence going to Norman. And I'm telling you right now, Heupel is going to throw the kitchen sink at Oklahoma because he's going to be ready to not just humiliate them for what they did to him, but that's Nico's Heisman moment. Oklahoma is the game that makes Nico the Heisman frontrunner.
Frontrunner?
Frontrunner.
Okay.
After Oklahoma, because everybody's going to talk about Colorado again at the start of the year because we're going to just do that for the next few years when Deion's there. After Oklahoma, that is the week where Tennessee starts getting talked about more than any other team in college football, and we will be the sexiest podcast around, guys. I'm predicting. I'm dead serious on this. I'm predicting, Dave, that, and this is wishful thinking, but I am predicting that the Oklahoma game sparks us skyrocketing in subscribers because everybody's going to want to know about Tennessee after that.
I don't doubt that. And they'll like to get the inside scoop. So we certainly appreciate those that make the program possible. And that includes our good friend Rick Terry Jewelry Design. And I want to tell you about, again, if I may take 1 second, the Great 8 Challenge, because it doesn't cost you a penny to be a free member at Hooker's Corner. Subscribe to the channel and you will be entered in Rick Terry's Great 8 Garmin Challenge, where we will give away a Garmin for free to one lucky listener. Now, if you want to join Hooker's Corner, you can do that right there and be eligible for our fantastic monthly prizes. We'll have the announcement on the monthly prize on Monday. It was a John Henderson autographed helmet last month. It's been a Tony Vitello ball, so pretty good stuff. So join Hooker's Corner, maybe a newsletter coming up as well. But join Hooker's Corner for free, or if you want to be eligible for that monthly prize and get a free T-shirt just for buying that first month, then join. Just $9.98. Pretty strong. All right. Tennessee's top 2 games. I think this one is probably the easiest part of your list, right? Alabama number 2, Georgia number 1. I don't think Georgia can slip from being Tennessee's toughest opponent. Can Alabama slip? Yes. I mean, we think that Kalen DeBoer is going to have success at Alabama, not Saban-like, but we don't know that. And there is an adjustment, I think, to the SEC, and there's an adjustment having new players that you don't know. So Georgia's a lock. I couldn't argue with you there on any count, but Alabama could slip from the 2 position.
They could. Yeah, let's just make sure we get Georgia out of the way. They're the most talented team in the country. They're starting the year number 1, and Tennessee plays them on the road. They would be the toughest game for anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime in college football. So that's obviously number 1. Alabama, I struggled with this, Dave, because I actually think that given the circumstances, NC State could be tougher than Alabama. They're not better than Alabama. They're not better than Alabama. They're not more talented. They won't finish better than Alabama. But when Tennessee plays NC State versus when they're playing Alabama and they get Alabama at Neyland, that changes things. And here's the big thing. I do believe that Kalen DeBoer is a good offensive coach who runs a good system. I don't believe Jalen Milroe is a fit for what he wants to do. I think you're going to have a quarterback controversy in Tuscaloosa by the end of September. And I got to be honest. Nick Saban did an amazing coaching job last year, really taking over the offense and taking it over for Jalen Milroe and simplifying it and making him a first read and run quarterback. Kalen DeBoer's offense doesn't do that.
I'll say this, and you and I've differed before, and we differ a little here. I'm hearing good things about Jalen Milroe out of practice. I was with you like a week ago, and I may still end up being with you, but he may be taking to this offense a little bit better than we thought. Just based off an Alabama source.
I don't believe this is one of those where, like, even if the source tells me that, like, I can't believe it because of what I know. That doesn't mean I can't believe Jalen Milroe can't be a good quarterback.
Right, which is fair for you not to believe it. Why? Because all practices are closed.
Yes. This system is literally the opposite of what Jalen Milroe can do. Jalen Hurts couldn't run this offense. The air raid, you have to be able to go through progressions quickly and fling the ball to any part of the field, right? That's the rule of the air raid.